Wilson Pickett. Memphis, Tennessee. In roughly 15 months, Wilson Pickett helped shape the history of recording in America. In 1965 and 1966, Pickett, one of the most dynamic R&B singers of all time, traveled to Stax Records in Memphis and FAME Recording in Muscle Shoals, where he cut a series of classic hits at each studio. In the process, between his supreme talent and pugnacious personality, Pickett helped determine the fate and future of each company, as they became twin pillars of Southern soul and pop music in the coming years. Stax's success with Pickett validated and emboldened the small company as it continued to churn out hits and build a stable of stars including Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, and Eddie Floyd. Eventually, Stax became a beacon of black consciousness and creativity as it expanded into an entertainment empire by the early 70s. On the back of its hit-making magic with Pickett, Muscle Shoals became a hotspot for artists from around the world seeking the region's signature sound, which continued at FAME and, later, at its offshoot, Muscle Shoals Sound Studios. The first man to record in both places, the wicked Pickett would prove to be a pathfinder throughout his career until his passing in 2006. I see Pickett as a trailblazer not just in soul music, but American music, says Tony Fletcher, author of In the Midnight Hour, The Life and Soul of Wilson Pickett. He's the first credited Atlantic artist to record at Stax and at FAME, but there's a lot of other firsts, too. He was also the man to put the word funk into the top 30, the first to headline a black touring package in Africa. His career was one of trailblazing, for which he never really got the credit. When he cut his first session at Stax in May 1965, Wilson Pickett was at a career crossroads. The Alabama-born, Detroit-bred singer had come up hard on the streets while learning to sing in church. He scored early successes with the vocal group The Falcons, taking lead vocals on I Found a Love in 1962, and then his first solo hit with Too Little in 1963. The latter song brought him to the attention of Jerry Wexler, executive with the country's premier R&B label, Atlantic Records, who signed Pickett. But Pickett's early attempts to break through for Atlantic met with little success. After a soured session with top New York producer Burt Burns, Pickett was left searching for answers. While on the road in Nashville, he heard WLAC disc jockey John R. play Pain in My Heart by Otis Redding. The track had been cut in Memphis at Stax Records by a backing band that included Booker T. and the MGs. As Fletcher notes, Pickett had fallen instantly in love with the timbre and tone of Redding's delivery and the sound of the Memphis musicians around him. Pickett wanted that sound and those musicians for himself. He pressured Atlantic to let him go to Memphis and record. Atlantic Records distributed Stax, and already had loaned another struggling signing, the duo Sam and Dave, to Stax president/producer Jim Stewart with the idea that the duo might have more luck finding a hit in Memphis than in New York. It's interesting that Pickett came down to Stax because of Otis Redding, says Robert Gordon, author of Respect Yourself, Stax Records and the Soul Explosion. Because Otis wasn't from Memphis either, but Otis came in and aligned himself with Stax, he signed to the label and became a peer, part of Stax. With Pickett, there was always a feeling he was an outsider, because he was signed to Atlantic, and partly because of his personality. Both factors, Pickett's status as an Atlantic artist and his sometimes overwhelming manner, would prove to be issues eventually. But when he arrived in Memphis in spring 1965, Pickett immediately found the creative spark and chart success he was looking for. Stax guitarist/producer and Booker T. and the MG's member Steve Cropper was tasked with working with Pickett. Jim Stewart and I went out to the airport and picked up Pickett and Jerry Wexler. They went off to dinner for a business meeting and Pickett and I started writing, recalls Cropper. The two men clicked immediately, knocking out songs like I'm Not Tired and Don't Fight It. Then, Cropper suggested an idea for a tune that would become In the Midnight Hour. I had heard some stuff Pickett sang on when he was really young. And he's going, oh, I'm gonna see my Jesus in the midnight hour, yeah, I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. I said, that's the idea for a song right there. He jumped on that when I said it. Pickett and Cropper finished the song and recorded it a couple nights later at Stax, with the house band that included Donald Duck Dunn and Isaac Hayes. The electrifying performance at In the Midnight Hour was Pickett's breakthrough, topping the R&B charts and becoming a top 25 pop hit later that summer. Pickett recorded several more hits at Stax, including the top 5 R&B/top 30 pop hit Don't Fight It, and the smash 634-5789, Soulsville, USA, which was another R&B chart topper. Pickett's connection at Stax, he'd finally found a studio and a band that could match his grit, musicality and drive, should have marked the start of a long, fruitful collaboration, but trouble was brewing. Given Pickett's success, Atlantic soon sent another of its artists, Don Covey, to Stax to record. A longtime pal and collaborator of Pickett's, Covey cut a few classics of his own at Stax, including See-Saw and Sookie Sookie. Pickett had come to Memphis to hang out with Covey during the session. But Covey was a somewhat odd character, who particularly grated on Stewart. Pickett came in with an attitude that he was a star and everyone worked for him, says Stax historian Robert Gordon. And that ignored the fact that members of the backing band at Stax were stars, were hitmakers, in their own right. According to Duck Dunn, Pickett's high-handed behavior in the studio began to anger the band and the resulting tension ripped the session apart, as Gordon recounted in Respect Yourself. When the band went outside, cooling their heels, Pickett walked out to try and buy their affection, offering each $100 if they'd come back inside and cut with him, wrote Gordon. Their self-respect cost more than that, and Pickett was spurned. He came back and was not pleasant to work with and did not treat any of the musicians at Stax in a respectful way, Gordon wrote. So much so that it led Jim Stewart to phone Jerry Wexler and tell him, though the arrangement seemed promising, not to send any more of Atlantic's stars to Stax. As Jim Stewart would tell it, it was the musicians who compelled the decision. The guys shut that door, they said, don't bring that ***** down here again. We don't have to put up with that crap. They just didn't want to be subjected to Wilson. They made a company policy based on one person in Pickett, and the footnote was that Don Covey had been equally unpleasant, says Gordon. At Stax in 1965 things are going great, it's a blast, and a close-knit group and they don't want some cocky star trip scene. So they just cut it off. It was bold, but it was the right decision. Search Vitor Hugo Lizard Leonard. Hello friends, if you liked it, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Strengthen our work. It is very importantly to widen the channel. I'll tell you, thank you.